Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Social Marketing Academy. I am your host, Christopher Tompkins. Really excited about today's show because it's about something that we don't talk about quite often, which is kind of taking your business to a completely different market and opening up new offices to service a whole other community. And that's what my guest, Paul Cohen, is doing. And he is the expert at this, native New Yorker who is helping opening the milk and honey operations stateside. So really excited to get to Paul in just a minute to kind of talk about all of those nuances and, opening a new office and opening an office where the main office is in another country. There's so many different things to talk about. And also there's so many advantages. So we'll be talking to Paul in a minute. If you are brand new to the show, welcome. If you're listening or you're watching our live feed, thanks for your time. What we want to do at the Social Marketing Academy is share with you some really key insights from experts. So we talk to the people that are within my network that I talk to all the time, and I gain such valuable insights from. So why can't you have the same benefits? So that's why we're bringing them to you. If you haven't listened to our show before, or if you have, you can visit our website, Go Sales and Marketing, which is my marketing agency, the Go Agency's website. There's a podcast page there, and you can watch all of the previous videos, as well as connect with any of the experts that we've had on there. You could also go on to iTunes or anywhere else where you can get your podcasts, and you can subscribe, as well as subscribe to our newsletter, which is the Bulletproof Marketer. You can do that on gosalesandmarketing.com, and I share cutting edge tips twice per week. So throw it in there, no big deal. Throw your email in the ring. But without further ado, I want to kind of get into announcing our guest today, which is Paul Cohen. Paul is the CEO of North America, the North American operation of Milk and Honey. He has more than 2 decades of experience in Europe, North America, and Asia. His award-winning career is focused on reputation management, media relations, brand development, and crisis communications. He has represented a wide range of clients, including Goodyear, Samsung, Starbucks, and the Russian government. Before joining Milk and Honey, Paul spent 17 years at Ketchum, where he served in a number of senior global positions in New York, Brussels, Shanghai, and Hong Kong. So this guy is international. And Paul was named PRWeek's 40 Under 40 list and has been a key member of teams that have all major industry awards, including Silver Anvil, PRWeek, CIPRA Gold Sabre, Cannes Lions, and so much more. He earned a BA with the highest honors in comparative literature from the University of Michigan, and I'm happy to introduce him to all of you today. Paul's going to be talking about how you make the leap into a new market, especially when you're starting your new operations. So, Paul, hey, welcome to the Social Marketing Academy.
Thanks so much. Great to be here.
Yeah, I just was telling all of our listeners just a little bit about your experience, but is there any just intro words that you'd like to share with your audience?
Yeah, so I've got almost 3 decades of experience working in communications, worked on 3 continents, represented everyone from the Russian government to Starbucks and sort of everything in between. And just in week 3, my new venture as CEO of Milk and Honey North America. So really, really excited, and yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, just reading through your experience, what kind of gave you the bug for so much international work and relocation? Are you attracted to culture? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's lives in me. You know, I was able to travel a bit when I was growing up. I took a year off before I went to college, but now it's a gap year. But when I did it, it was like a weird thing that nobody did.
Yeah.
And I lived in southern Switzerland for a year and learned Italian, and then did a junior year in Italy. And I actually had I was working at Burson Marsteller back when Burson Marsteller still existed, in New York in the late 90s. And I remember we had one of those big kind of global confabs that the big agencies have. Yeah. And I had really it was like an epiphany where I was meeting people from all over the world. And I was like, what am I doing at a big global company just staying in my hometown? I want to go somewhere. And I'd spent a lot of time in Europe. I'd never been to Asia. And it just struck me. I was like, I want to go to Asia, and not having ever been there, not knowing anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
I had assumed that Asia pretty much meant Hong Kong or Singapore. And so I put my hat in the ring. I talked to the Asia CEO, I talked to the head of HR, talked to my boss. Yeah. Something percolated in Tokyo, but I think we didn't get the business. And then I got a call saying there might be something in Beijing. And this was well before Beijing had the Olympics, well before like China joined the WTO. So it was,
oh wow, okay,
like China was like, no one went to China, and
no one. Yeah.
So it was like, okay, and so had a bunch of interviews, spent a week there kind of interviewing further and kind of getting into it, and they made an offer, and I took my my fiance joined me, now my wife, and then she got work there, and then I left Burson Marsteller, joined Ketchum, moved from Beijing to Shanghai, then moved with Ketchum from Shanghai to Hong Kong. So, 4 years, 3 cities, a marriage and a child later, moved back to New York. And then when I was in New York, I was with Ketchum, and we had an opportunity to pitch for the business to represent the Russian government as they were hosting the G8, back when it was still the G8, for the first time, and really looking to figure out how to communicate in the Western context.
Right.
And it was a very different world. Russia really wanted to engage with the West, and this was kind of the rise of the BRICS, right. And Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And so we got the business to work with the Russian government. It was, amazing, heady stuff. And then we had opportunities to work with some other Russian firms. And then I pushed my work with Chinese firms, and I really started basically a international practice, really a developing markets practice within Ketchum's corporate practice. Okay. And it was amazing. I mean, I would, it's traveling all over the world. I went to, Olympic Games and World Economic Forums and G8s and G20s. I had meetings in the Kremlin, in the Pentagon, in the Great Hall of the People, like just, really great stuff. And then I was looking for the next thing, and had an opportunity to go to Brussels to both to help kind of invigorate the Brussels office, but also to connect the dots across the European network. So did that for 5 years. My kids now speak, perfect French, and, make fun of my horrible accent. And then, so we moved back, and then, so it's been my lifeblood. And, I think some of the things that are so exciting about it are, first of all, just to understand how to translate other contexts, other cultures, to forge connections with, and relationships and friendships, and understand the dynamics of communications, right? What you say versus what others hear, and then you add cultural and linguistic barriers in that right. gap. Is just fascinating. And I think the last thing I'd say is, I love the challenge of dealing with ambiguities, and kind of wading through the morass of not quite knowing everything. It makes life challenging, but makes life interesting and business interesting. And it just makes me love the fact that I'm a professional communicator. To understand how communications works across borders is it's just a fascinating topic.
So what made you choose to take on this opportunity now with Milk and Honey? Yeah,
so I left Ketchum about a year ago after 17 years, and really had spent more than 20 years working at some of the world's largest agencies, and was looking for what was next. And turned down a couple of offers that weren't quite right. Actually started my own shop and thought I was going to go that direction. But I was connected with Kirsty Layton, who's the founder of Milk and Honey. 6 months ago, more than 6 months ago. She had a client that was coming to the US, and I was recommended to her. So we had an initial, just a Zoom chat like this, and talking about the business, but talking a little more big picture stuff. And she kind of let it slip that she might be interested in starting something in the US. And I kind of let it slip that I might be interested in doing something like that with her. She had a great reputation. And we kept up a dialogue. The client work actually finally came to fruition in March, so it took a little time. But in the interim, we kept up a dialogue. I helped out with some other projects that they had. And in the meantime, I was getting my business off the ground, and I was sort of delaying really kind of making it public. I registered as a business. I had my email address, but I didn't build the website yet. I didn't kind of I kind of stayed in stealth mode. Partly to just get everything in place, but partly because I was having these conversations. What was interesting was, in conversations with family and friends, they would sort of say back to me, well, it sounds like you're really excited about the Milk and Honey opportunity. And that was kind of driving me to, see what that was all about. And then I guess around February, so we had a conversation where it was like, okay, like, are we serious about this? And if we are, what does timing look like? And Kirsty said, basically, yes, I'm really serious. Yes, I want this to happen. Yes, I want this to happen with you. And I want this to happen quickly. And from there, it was off to the races, until the only slowdown was lawyers dragged things out. But, everything was agreed in principle very quickly. And yeah, it's just super exciting because they're actually the fastest growing agency. We are, I guess, the fastest growing agency in Europe, the fifth growing agency in the world. That's before entering the US market. And they just do everything what I would say is the right way.
Now, going from like you've catch me of these really large agencies that you've worked with, and now you're kind of like with this hot growing boutique. I mean, how are you handling that transition?
I love it, and I think the challenge. Look, the big agencies are fantastic, and I've had nothing but amazing experiences in my time there. But I think the business model is struggling, and you can see that just in growth rates and everything else. And I think a lot of it is, there's a lot of, well, that's how we did it in 1983, so that's how we do it today. And these are businesses that have been around for a long time and have bureaucracy and baggage built up. And Kirsty founded Milk and Honey only 4.5 years ago, really in the way that I think a lot of people at any organization, forget PR, forget big agencies, but just like, if I were to start my business, what would it look like, right? And she really thought about, if I were to start a PR firm, what does a PR firm look like in the second quarter of the 21st century? What does even just a professional services firm look like? But so let's start from there and then make it happen, as opposed to, well, I want to do a little business and I got clients and kind of, meander my way. Like, this was really mindful and purposeful. So that's true for big and small things. So even just the way we bill, right? So we don't bill by the hour because we're not a law firm in 1950, right? It's, we look at what does success look like for a client?
Right.
What does it take to get there? And what's an appropriate value price for that? So it's just a very different mindset. Every company talks about, we want our teams to feel like they have ownership in the decisions, but it's always like air quote ownership.
Of course, yeah.
We have employee ownership in a literal sense. After 12 months, every employee, irrespective of level, gets an actual equity stake, not like a phantom share, but an actual equity stake in the business. every company talks, we're purpose driven, we're mission driven. Milk and Honey has already established itself as one of the few PR firms that is a certified B Corporation. So really put living those values is something that's really refreshing. And because we're small, because we're new, we can do that. We can kind of maneuver quickly, and it's not, we have to get permission from the parent company. We have to do this. It's just that's a good idea. Make it so.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the best things about having kind of like having a hot boutique or a smaller agency is being able to be so nimble and agile when you're trying to create new campaigns. I mean, even for my own agency, when we're doing organic social media, if something comes out and it's late breaking news, we have to tie our clients into that news story and put it out there to get the attention. And if our client does not if I had to do that in a larger agency, there's a lot more checks and balances I'd have to go through. And then depending on the size of the client as well, I'd have just as many pieces of red tape I'd have to cut on that end. So I know it's especially if you're for some of the campaigns that we do where we act as disruptors, it's nice to be able to be outside of the box and do something and say, hey, this really worked, let's try this, because it kind of makes life interesting.
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
okay, so there's a lot of people out there that are expanding their companies. A lot of people did have a very successful 2020, albeit with everything else going on. What advice would you give to people that are trying to lay the groundwork of a new expansion or a new location?
Yeah. First, I think pick your right partners. Really, really make sure that if you're gonna go in with somebody, that you're really aligned. You're aligned from a business standpoint, but also just from a mindset standpoint. And that you approach things in enough to you want to have some diversity and difference, but you want to at least think about things in the same way, and really that your values are aligned. So I think that's the first thing, that's really important, is to get your allies and get your partners that you can really trust. And you don't have to know, like Kirsty and I literally have never met in person because of the way the world is. But there's just something that's clearly simpatico about the way we connect and the way we just approach our business. The second, I think, is have a mindset of yes. Really just embrace opportunities. And I'll give you one small example that's actually not related to Milk and Honey, but I think was really instructive for me. So when I went out on my own, I left Ketchum, I was looking at any number of different avenues to take. And before, I would be very selective, right? Oh, well, I don't really want to talk to that. No, that's not the direction I want to go. And then I made a shift, and I said, I'm just going to say yes to everything. Just yes, I'll do it. I'll take that meeting. I'll take the call, whatever it is. And, just one example, a good friend of mine is an analyst at one of the big banks. And he said, oh, do you want to talk to, head of comms? He's put me on CNBC, he's a good guy. And normally I would have said no. I don't want to have a favor from a friend and mix with business. And, I don't want to be but instead I was like, yes, I will. So turns out the guy is a fantastic guy. I wasn't going to get a position with him, but it was great connection. And he said, look, I've seen your background. My wife is an attorney with a boutique law firm that does a lot of international work, does a lot of work in energy. And I see that you've got tons of international work and tons of energy work. I've mentioned this to her. Would you mind talking to her to see if there might be opportunities with some of her clients? And so all of a sudden, from a friend in Park Slope, I'm now talking to, a law firm with offices around the world in a totally different context, because the answer is yes, not no. So I think that kind of mindset is really important, to just embrace it. So I think that's one. And then you and I were talking about this before, but embrace the unknown and accept that there are going to be ambiguities, and you're not going to have the answers, and things won't always be comfortable. And just know that and deal with it and go with it, and so I think those right partners, mindset of yes, and embrace ambiguities.
And I love that embrace ambiguities, because just today I had 2 different sales calls with new prospects, and I was talking to them, and both of them are diametrically opposed, 2 industries I've never worked in, and they both asked me on the call, well, how much do you know about our industry? And I said, I don't know a lot, but I'm excited to learn, because then I learn something new, and you get to see things through fresh eyes and bring things to the client they might not see. And then being that problem solving and living in that gray area sometimes is really exciting. Like there's so many cool things that you can uncover. So I totally understand what you're talking about. So in terms of approaching things from the place of yes, what do you see for Milk and Honey New York over the next few months or year? What do you hope this expansion is going to bring?
I hope we have a similar growth trajectory that we've had in the other markets. So London's been around for 4 years. They're at 28 people and are, well known in the marketplace for being, this hot shop and, great for, attract great employees, diverse employees, and really top tier clients. The Sydney office is 1.5 years old. They're at 5 people and they're growing. So, there's expectations and pressure to grow at that rate, and continue to grow the pipeline of prospects and clients, get my team in place, and really establish a real firm beachhead here as something that's going to be strong and sustainable, kind of out of the gate.
So, one of the things that a lot of people are considering right now is like how to best go through the recruiting process. How are you finding the recruiting process in the current environment?
I've found it's still early days, to be clear. But I think if you've got something good to sell, it's really easy.
Yeah.
And I think the people that I have spoken to are, hear about what Milk and Honey is, right? We're a B Corp, there's employee ownership, just the ability to really shape things and make, really make your own future is really appealing. And what's interesting, so I've talked to, some former colleagues, and, people are really excited. But what I found is interesting is that people who I don't even know have reached out, or friends of friends said, so I was talking to so-and-so about you, and they were so excited, and they're not really happy where they are. Can I connect you with them? So, just this, I think there's a hunger for the types of opportunities that I think I'm offering. Again, it's that young, hot, entrepreneurial, different kind of business model. I find it, I've found that people find it really attractive.
Well, I think it is. Just to kind of like amplify one of the points that you made, a lot of companies do not ever, especially boutique-sized firms, do not give ownership. Boutique-sized firms, we offer healthcare for our employees, and that's not something that a lot of firms of our size do, but we know why we do it, right? We do it because we want our employees to be healthy, happy, and feel ownership of what they're doing. So obviously, like we said, it is early days, and you're getting the right people in place. What have been some of the main challenges that you've been facing?
I guess there are 2 levels. One is just the challenge of running a startup. Just the juggling. I think the standard go-to answer for anyone, why do you like PR, is because every day is different, and I get to work on so many different things. Great, but there's that, and then there's and I'm working on all these different clients, and I'm pitching new business, and I'm doing a podcast, and I'm setting up 401k for my employees, and I'm talking with the business insurance guys, and I'm looking at real estate, and it's just, and I'm talking to Sydney, and I'm talking to London, and it's just like all of that, which frankly is more of a brag than a complaint. Like it's exhausting, but it's exhilarating. And I think just the other big challenge is, it's not, success is not automatic. And right. I'm hugely confident in my abilities. I'm hugely confident in my partners and my team's reputation and ability. Like I wouldn't do this if I weren't supremely confident that this is going to be a big success. But it does, my confidence doesn't necessarily mean that it will be. And so there's real pressure. I'm playing without a net, and walking without a net. And so there's real pressure there. Not that anyone's putting on me but myself, but I'm aware that I now have responsibilities to maintain the reputation of this great firm, to maintain the expectations of my colleagues and partners. So that's a gift, but it's a burden as well.
Of course. No, with the self-imposed stress, and I completely understand that self-imposed pressure. How do you stay centered? Like, how do you recenter yourself after you've been pushed all the way to the left or all the way to the right?
I think it's a great question. I think I'm so lucky, right? So every day, and it's been 3 weeks, so it's not been a lot, but every day since it's been final, right? And everything was signed, we announced it. Every day I'm like, oh my God, where'd that day go? That was exhausting. And I go to bed and I think, holy moly, I am so lucky. Like this is exactly not only where I want to be now, this is exactly where I wished I were a couple of years ago. This is it, so the centering, I think, comes from it's the pressure, it's like if you're the quarterback in the Super Bowl, like I'm sure you're like throwing up beforehand. Maybe Tom Brady isn't, but if you're a first time quarterback, but that's where you want to be. Like you want to be, you want to have that pressure. So the pressure is real, but it's where I want to be.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. I think it's something that a lot of people that are running startups have that feeling where, am I doing enough? Am I not doing enough? And you have enough skin in the game where you understand kind of what you need to be doing. But then there's also the curveballs, because that's one of the things a lot of people don't understand. Doesn't matter how much experience that you do have, you're still getting curveballs. You're still going to get things are going to change. I think a lot of people that were trying to start businesses and getting things off the ground last year had a rude awakening when they were unable to pivot their strategies. And I think being like-minded with you, I'm all about pivoting. I'm all about organically changing. I'm all about living in the edits, you know what I mean? And trying to make things a better version of themselves. And I think if you have that approach as at managing a startup, you can be very successful. But you always do have to be careful not to push yourself too hard. And it's good that you have that thankful heart that you can kind of turn into this, because being able to do what you love is the game. You know what I mean? That's what it is. I mean, so what's next? I mean, it's going to be going out and growing this baby, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've been really fortunate to get, we've got some clients already, which is great.
Wonderful.
We've got an amazing pipeline, and what's really nice is, I had some clients and prospects and contacts that I was able to, have, so it wasn't a total standing start. But Milk and Honey has such a great reputation that people are aware of them, so they're on a lot of people's radar. Once it's like, oh, they're in the U.S., that's awesome. And so we've got, the challenge is converting, from pipeline to clients can be this or it can be that. But I mean, just to give an example, the day after the announcement was made, we got a couple of RFPs in the door that were addressed to, Paul at milkandhoney.com,
nice.
milkandhoneypr.com, and Kirsty at milkandhoneypr.com. So it's people who we didn't know. So this is like, and these were impressive RFPs that like they saw the news, and it, you could almost see the gears turning, which is like, okay, like we need, like we need two big, big holding company firms, two mid-sized firms, and let's get a hot boutique, like that sort of thing.
Of course.
And to be on the very short list of like that, the hot boutique category, just in the gate, or or just out of the gate, like that's exciting, and that I think that bodes well for where we can go.
That's fantastic. I mean, just before we let you go, Paul, can you just so everyone understands a little bit more about the services that you do offer at Milk and Honey, what are kind of the key service offerings that that you do offer?
Yeah, so I mean, we're obviously a public relations firm, but we are very much a reputation first firm. So we really look to help an organization shape and shape its reputation to drive its business. We are industry agnostic. We've got some points of expertise, but really it's not a question of only in this industry, only that industry. It's really any organization that wants to protect, defend, grow its reputation. And we really want to have like-minded clients, so organizations that really care about purpose and mission, and at a minimum doing no harm to the planet and to the communities in which they work, and helping them not just do no harm, but really help affect positively people and planet. And a lot of growth-minded, growth-oriented organizations where we can really engage with senior management to make a difference.
Excellent. Paul, if anybody else wants to find you, where's the best place for them to see? By the way, as a caveat, I'm gonna put all the links into the bio of this show, but awesome. Go ahead.
Best is Paul at milkandhoneypr.com. That's all one word, milkandhoneypr.com. And all the standard social channels. You can find me. I think I'm Paul_Cohen1 at Twitter, and you can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and all the others.
And anyone out there, if you're listening to the show and you'd like an introduction to Paul, just let me know and I can make the introduction for you. I've known Kirsty for a while, and I love the agency, and so I'm really excited to see it stateside. And I know, Paul, it's going to be a really great success because everything that you said about how you have a mission, and you align it with your clients, and all centered around purpose is really important. So anybody that is looking for some PR representation, reputation management, please look up Paul at milkandhoney.com. Oh, sorry. But Paul, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
My pleasure.
And folks, thank you so much for joining us on the Social Marketing Academy. We have some great episodes lined up. We have a couple more on affiliate marketing. You brought that up as something that you really wanted to cover a little bit more, and what the hell, I'll dive in deeper. So check out all of our shows on our website, gosalesandmarketing.com. You can go on the podcast page and find out all of our past shows and bios. And if there's any of the experts that you would like to meet, just let me know and I'll give you a warm introduction. All right, folks, until next time, it's been Christopher from the Social Marketing Academy. We'll talk to you soon.